Is Bangladesh on a path to a one-party rule? The governing Awami League is likely to win another term in Sunday's election. The main opposition is boycotting, accusing the government of cracking down on its rivals. So what will this vote mean for the country? This is Inside Story. Hello, welcome to the program. I am Hashim Ahalbarra. Voters in Bangladesh are getting ready for general elections on Sunday. It's a controversial poll that's dividing much of the country. Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina is expected to win another term with virtually no competition. The main opposition is boycotting, pointing to what it says are intimidation, fraud and widespread arrests ordered by the government. Frustration has been building up for months, with protesters demanding the Prime Minister step aside and for a neutral administration to oversee the vote. So how will this election shape Bangladesh's future, and is the nation shifting to a one-party system? We'll get to our guests in a moment. First, this report from Katia Lopez-Hotuyan.
She is Bangladesh's longest-serving Prime Minister, and Sheikh Hasina is all but guaranteed another term. The 76-year-old has led the country for 15 years, overseeing sharp economic growth that's lifted millions out of poverty. But the months leading up to Sunday's general election have been marked by widespread protests and calls for her to resign. Critics accuse her of authoritarianism, corruption, and of blocking political rivals from running. The main opposition party, BNP, is boycotting the election. It says millions of its members are facing a government crackdown and thousands have been jailed.
25,000 of our party leaders and workers, starting from our Secretary General down to the grassroots level, have been taken into custody.
The military has been deployed to the capital ahead of the elections. But on the streets of Dhaka, the mood is mixed, with many voters expecting more of the same.
I was eligible to vote for the first time in 2018, but I wasn't able to. When I went to cast my vote, they said someone else had already voted for me. It was heartbreaking.
Hasina supporters point to Bangladesh's fast economic transformation, but there are significant challenges. The International Monetary Fund has approved a $4.7 billion loan to offset the nation's deficit and weak currency.
We are very happy with the infrastructure the government has developed, but when it comes to essentials, prices are too high. We can't match our salaries with food expenses.
Bangladesh relies heavily on its clothing industry, which reached profits of about $40 billion in 2022, but it's struggling to develop new exports. And certain trade deals and partnerships with China are also raising concerns in Washington. Bangladesh prides itself on being a multi-party democracy, but some are now asking if it's turning into a one-party state. Katia Lopez-Hotuyan, Al Jazeera, for Inside Story.
Let's bring in our guests. They're all joining us from Bangladesh. In Dhaka, Muqtadir Rashid, investigative journalist and reporter with the daily newspaper New Age. In Kushia, Salim Altaf George, a member of parliament for the governing Awami League party. Also in the capital Dhaka, Rumin Farhana, barrister and former member of parliament for the opposition Bangladesh Nationalist Party. Welcome to the program. Muqtada, violence is not something new during the election campaigns and also after the results are announced. Why is it so tense in particular this time? Is it because of the opposition staying away from the race, or the general consensus that this is another rigged election?
Thank you for having me here. I would say the violence is not that much this time, because it's violence between the ruling party that is called Awami League and their backed independent candidates. So we have I want to give you the official figure that I received from the police headquarters, that more than 380 incidents that took place just 15 days since the ruling party and their like-minded opposition independent candidate started their formal election campaigning. So in those cases, more than 300 and nearly 400 people were injured, according to the police report, and 57 people were arrested, mostly Awami League leaders and activists, and 6 people were killed during this period. So this is deadly than of other months we have seen, since the opposition and the ruling Awami League has been running the campaigning before the formal announcement of the schedule for the election that is going to be happen in 7th of this month.
Salim, you've dismissed BNP boycott as an attempt to undermine the elections. But they are saying that the reason why they're staying out is because there are no guarantees this is going to be fair and free.
Thank you, everybody, and good evening. Look, no one is going to give any guarantee. The Election Commission is an independent body. Election Commission is asking every political parties to participate in the election. Awami League, as a political party, intend to participate in the election. And BNP, on the other hand, they're saying they don't want to participate in the election because they're saying the election system. They don't believe in the election system. They don't believe in the constitutional system. They want to bring back something which is unconstitutional. And they're saying that we don't want to go to the election unless that unconstitutional system bringing back to the country again. So Election Commission, Awami League and other political parties, we are saying, no, we are going to hold the election under the present constitutional system. Simple is that. And Election Commission asking every political parties to participate in the election. So Awami League as a political party participate in the election. And on next 7th January, the election is going to happen. And the people of this country is going to attend the election. They are going to participate in the election. They are going to vote there. They are going to vote. And as usual, the winning guy is going to be the MP. And then they are going to decide who is going to be the Prime Minister. And in that scenario, BNP is saying the Awami League and their dummy candidate and this and that is going to participate in the election. So election is not going to be in that force. So they are saying something which is not accepting the people.
Okay,
people are not accepting what they're saying because they're.
Well, if you don't mind, because we have Romeen here from the BNP who should be giving us the party's perspective. Romeen, you decided not to take, you participated in 2014, then you decided you boycotted 2014, you participated in 2018, and now you said we're not taking part in the 2024. For many, this is just an evasive attempt by the BNP, given that they know this is going to be sealed by Awami League.
Thank you so much and good evening. The election that is going to be held on 7th of this month is not an election at all. It's a preset design. It's a drama that will be staged by the government on 7th. It's basically an election between the person nominated from Awami League versus the independent candidate of Awami League versus the Awami League supported Jatiyo Party candidate versus the Awami League alliance candidate, etc., etc., etc. So whoever you vote, at the end of the day, you are voting for Awami League. So that is the reason why we are not participating in the election. And as on today, we have 11 elections in total. And out of those 11 elections, only 4 elections were accepted by all the parties. And those 4 were held under caretaker government. The caretaker government was the result of Awami League movement in 1996. And it was incorporated in the constitution through our 13th amendment by BNP. And it was based on national consensus. Everybody accepted it as the correct form of running the election. But when Awami came in power in 2008, for the reason best known to them, they just removed the article of caretaker government from the constitution, and they are running the show after that in their own way so that they can renew their power every 5 years. In 2014, we didn't participate in the election because at that time it was very clear to us that the election will not be a free or fair one. Into 2018, we got assurance from the Prime Minister herself. She said, "Keep faith on me. I am daughter of Bangabandhu. I am not going to rig the election." So we trusted her. We participated in the election, and more than 50 candidates of BNP were personally injured, physically injured.
Right.
Loads of people were arrested, or activists were arrested. There was no level playing field, and at the end of the day, BNP got only 7 seats out of 300, which is unbelievable.
Okay, Muqtada, you've just heard what Romeen has been saying. Is it legitimate demand to say now that we should have had a neutral caretaker government to oversee the election as the sole guarantee that this was going to be fair and free?
If you look at the statistics, what we received from political party, both of the political parties, like BNP said, it's more than 25,000 people were arrested since October 28, after violence broke out during a peaceful rally in Dhaka. And the ruling party says it's not 25,000, it's only 11,000. And you see the top leaders, including Mirza Fakhrul Islam Alamgir and others who are no policymaker, they are behind the bar, and those who are not, they are exiled either in UK or Malaysia and elsewhere. And those are remaining, they are not the policymaker of this party. And the other thing is important, that we are not getting any official statistics from the government itself. Given this context in the mind, we are having an election. And you see, I talked to a barber today, and he was asking me, why don't you go back your home and cast your vote? He said, look, election is always festive, and I don't find this election is any festivity, and nothing is here. Many analysts say that this election, if you compare the election, then U.S. election without Republican or Democrats. So this is the kind of election we are having right at this point. So we definitely need I'm not saying, I don't want to say what Awami League is saying and what BNP is saying, but as a voter, I really want to vote in a free, fair manner that I'm not getting here. And I spoke to hundreds of people over the weeks, and they say, no, it is not the environment in which I can vote or choose my leader.
Salim, you've just heard what both Muqtada and Romeen have been saying. Now, if you seem to be pretty much confident your party has the hearts and minds of Bangladeshi peoples, but you see that there is an atmosphere of polarization and mistrust. Why didn't you reinstate the article that paves the way for a neutral, independent, non-partisan government that would take over to oversee the election? And the moment you win, you would have the ultimate justification and legitimacy that you won a free and fair election.
The question we're discussing here today about how you're going to hold the next election. And everybody, like Romeen and other one, Muqtada is saying to reinstate neutral government, caretaker government, which is mostly trusted people. The thing is, caretaker government or neutral government, this is completely past and closed transaction. It's a closed transaction. You cannot bring that caretaker government back in our country anymore.
Why?
Because the highest court of this country said the system we have been like doing election like 1991, 1996 or 2008, which was unconstitutional. And then it's become unconstitutional. Now we are looking forward how our election commission, we can strengthen them. So we asked BNP and other political parties suggestions to how we can strengthen the election commission so they can trust on that, and we can do our election on. We want to bring back a concrete system.
Salim, you know what's the problem with your argument? You're talking about laws as if they were sacred. It was the Awami League which abolished the practice of having a caretaker government, saying that the caretaker government back then was colluding with the military establishment to expand their influence. So it was a politically motivated decision. Now, it's up to the people of Bangladesh to say what's right, what's wrong, what's good, what's bad for them. Now, if you're really honest about the idea of competing freely and fairly with people, why wouldn't you just trigger the same policy? And therefore, when you win, people will say, well, you deserve it, you own it. You don't seem to be really convincing to me, Salim, when you're talking to me about the need to maintain something as if it was really sacred.
Look, this is what you were saying and our other political parties, they're saying. But the thing is, we cannot go back to the system. BNP should participate in the election and fight it. And then they can say that this election is rigged. We cannot trust on that. We don't trust on election commission. We don't trust on bureaucracy. We don't trust on law enforcement agencies. They don't trust no one. So what Awami League can do? Awami League is a political party. Awami League will participate in the election, and election commission is going to hold the election. So this is why I'm saying, if they do have any kind of sort of suggestions, how the election commission can be strengthened, and the election commission, how they do the free and fair election.
Ramin,
that's the thing.
Ramin, let me just go to Ramin for a second. Ramin, do you understand that by choosing not to take part in the election, you are basically sending the message that from now onwards, any decision is going to be out of the constitutional framework? Because the options will be very small for you. You go to the streets, violence will kick in, and therefore there will be no democratic way out for you in the future unless you decide with wisdom it is in the benefit of Bangladesh to be part of the political establishment and part of the elections.
Do you really believe that for the benefit of this country and for the sake of the people, we should participate in an election which is mostly known as dummy election, which is mostly known as a farcical sham election? There is no point, because it has already predetermined who's going to form the government, who's going to be the prime minister, who's going to be in the opposition. If you want to know, I have a list of names who has already been confirmed to be the member of parliament. If you want to utter me the names, I can do so. But I don't think that will be very nice. But we all have those messages, you know. So what's the point of participating in an election where we all know that's who's going to win from which seat? So I don't think that this mockery will be a nice thing to do with our people. And on top of that, we are a very pro-people party. We speak to our activists, we speak to our grassroots level people. They all say, please don't be a part of this farce. And just to let you know that Jatiyo Party, which is contesting the election to be the main opposition party in the parliament, most of the candidates are withdrawing from this election. They say that there is no level playing field. The voters are being scared to come to the politician. There is violence, and they are not being able to, sustain. So they withdraw their candidacy. Only 26 seats has already been confirmed from the government. And in those 26 seats, the government didn't place any nominated candidate. I mean, the Awami League didn't place any nominated candidate. And in those seats, probably they are going to win. But still, we don't know, because so much violence is going on.
I have a few other angles to cover with you. Muqtada, a little bit of perspective for our international audience. Khalida Zia of the BNP versus Sheikh Hasina of Awami League. It's the same deep-seated animosity that has battered, beset political life in Bangladesh for decades, particularly the fight between the the two main political parties, the Socialist Secular Awami League, founded in 1949, the Conservative Nationals, BNP, founded in 1977. Is Bangladesh meant to keep paying the price of the same political animosity that has been there for years?
I think it would be very complicated to predict the days coming ahead, and it's very complicated because you see the Awami League has its own popularity and among the supporters and beneficiaries, but the BNP is now a very mature political party by this time after suffering so many of human rights abuse, enforced disappearance, extrajudicial killings, and so you are comparing in a different spectrum of this political dynamics. But what we understand, we are seeing the dying political environment in Bangladesh. The Bangladesh, it has been long tradition in Bangladesh that the political parties, the festivity and everything. But we are seeing its different discourse, and which is really unexpected in terms of political thinking and political environment. And with that, the crisis is there that democracy will be affected. And of course, that affect the rule of law, that will human rights, that will affect the freedom of expression, that will affect our I don't know what's going to happen after the election that we say in the 7th of January.
Salim, if you would have asked me, it's normally me who asks questions, but if you would have asked me about the track record of Sheikh Hasina about a few years ago, there was a consensus that she was presiding over an unprecedented economic boom and expanding the garments industry in Bangladesh. But things have changed. The economy is almost in tatters to the point where it needs cash injections from the international monetary institutions. Not a good sign for the voters who will cast their votes that this is the right candidate to vote for.
This is the economic crisis. It's not for Bangladesh alone. The crisis is all over So our policy is to keep an eye on that and how do we move forward. And we have our own policies. We have our own friends, our developing partners, our friend countries. We are working on that. So some people are expecting after the election, the economic crisis is going to deepen more and more. They're expecting that, but I can assure you, we have our own plan, our own policy, and our own thing to go away. So Bangladesh is still a growing economical country. We have so many staffs and friends around. We are talking with them. But the next election, you guys are talking about that if it is not accepted by the international community or whatsoever, then what's going to happen? Because we need some money from IMF or injection from other countries. Okay. We keep talking with them. We are continuously. You got my point.
I definitely, I really got your point. Ramin, what's next for the opposition? Are you just likely to continue the same campaign that you started in December 2022 by taking to the streets, the same campaigns that resulted in unprecedented mass protests, killing of civilians, and also the arrest of thousands of people on the street? It's a gambit here. It could backfire on you.
If you can notice that for the last 1.5 years, we are continuing with our movement. And it was so peaceful and so non-violent that government sometimes makes joke out of our movement. They said, how would they expect that they will, topple down the government through this kind of movement? But of course, we will be able to do so because we believe that people are with us. And regarding our economic crisis, can I say a few words about that?
Very briefly, if you don't mind.
Yeah, of course. Our government has three culprits to blame. One is Corona pandemic, second is Russia-Ukraine war, and third is world recession. But unfortunately, the reality remains that Bangladesh is going to be bankrupt very soon. The foreign reserve is below $16 billion, which is not even enough to meet 3 months import bill. Situation is such that national oil import organizations found severe difficulties in opening LCs. In the upcoming months, the government has to pay $10 billion as their repayments of loan and dues. And inflation is so high that since the local currency is losing its value against the dollar, inflation is rising very, very sharply. And, you know, some economists are forecasting that hyperinflation is going to take place.
I have one
so
last
we are
question.
not in a very comfortable situation.
I see your point. Muqtada, more uncertainty for the country at a time when the key global players, India, China, and the United States of America, are looking forward to see what happens next, which could redefine the way they will have to tackle with the South Asian country. How do you see its future relations with these political heavyweights?
We see it's already been, changing because we see how the U.S. diplomats are being ridiculed in Bangladeshi politicians, especially the ruling party leaders. They try to bait in. They want to do ridicule them. It's a very unusual in Bangladesh. We've never seen in past. So and on the other hand, we have seen that other big power in around this South Asia, they try to set up their own people in the constitution, and we see an independent candidate say that he is a candidate of India. So this is the different dynamics. And China is saying in different way, and I want to make it short in different way. The Bangladeshi people really want democracy and development parallelly, but we somewhat get kind of development, but not democracy.
And let's see what happens next. In the meantime, Muqtada Rashid, Salim Altaf, George, Romain Farhana, I really appreciate your insight. Looking forward to having the same conversation with you in the near future at the outcome of the election. Thank you. And thank you too for watching. You can see the program again anytime by visiting our website, aljazeera.com, for further discussion. Go to our Facebook page, that's facebook.com/AJ Inside Story. You can also join the conversation on X. Our handle is @AJ Inside Story. From me, Hashim Ahl Barra, and the entire team here. Bye for now.